Welcome everyone to this breaking news tonight. Of course, I said the other day was the last breaking news, or actually weekly IT news, but I have some breaking news. What have we done the last day? I spent too much time with this precious, obviously, tool PS3 here, so more time than I should have actually yesterday and today, and actually it was more difficult than I thought. I have Linux slightly starting there, but long story short, all the custom firmware stuff, all I found, and I checked with custom firmware people, all of them actually do not support other OS Linux on the development P3. Anyway, that's not the breaking news, that was we have done the last days here. Breaking news, of course, heatwave bakes Europe, where air condition is scarce, when some international audience is saying, what is all the fuss about? It's hot in Texas too, yes, but there you have air conditioning, not like we here in Central Europe. We have isolated homes and heatings for the winter, so when we have 40 degrees record temperature here, all time 100 whatever years since the recording of weather. The other live stream, someone asked me, am I a climate change denier? No, of course not. I point this out because to convince the last climate change deniers, and this has nothing to do with believing, that is fact, scientific fact of 10,000 of studies. So if you agree with this, would be amazing if you share, like, and subscribe and spread the news. So never in recorded history has Paris been hotter than it was on Thursday, where the temperature nearly neared 110 degrees Fahrenheit, gibberish. Of course, that is some 40 degree centigrade. The same was true for Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, Italy, and certainly all the other countries left and right and around and such. Anyway, just wanted to point out the obvious. More breaking news, more relevant to our channel, and as usual I will on the fly translate this here. The so far fastest RISC-V processor announced, 16 cores, Ping2G, Alibaba daughter company, has announced the Xuan T910, a processor with RISC-V, based on RISC-V, 16 cores, and much faster apparently than the sci-fi RISC-V models that are also out there and coming. So when American politicians thought it was a good idea to place sanctions on China and such, yeah, guess what? If they don't get Intel silicon, then yeah, they develop their own, right? Well done there, fake president. Maybe he already got too orange for that or something. But no surprise there. Of course, it is good. The more competition, the better. And the more to choose from. And if Intel and AMD are not developing RISC-V, then at least someone is doing that. Not really sure if we will see this soon. Of course, there are some AMD-based Chinese processors. And I think they even recently started to revive the VIA Ischia Nano-based silicon as well. But they are of course also not really seen here in the West right now. I would hope we get, but on the other hand, there are plenty of Raspberry Pi clones or alternative versions, so maybe we will see RISC-V based boards sometime soon. And by the way, I just realized this was already 2018, so maybe now they they announced it there 2018, maybe they are now already finished or something, not really sure. Anyway, so heavily out of order and such. This is of course what brings the high performance. If you are not massive out of order, then you of course are not on a instruction per clock base competitive to latest and greatest Intel and AMD offerings. So yeah, RISC-V is coming, no surprise there. We already made a video if you're interested in all this kind of low-level stuff. I've actually made a walkthrough through all the RISC-V ISA instruction set architecture. So if this kind of stuff is for you, you'll find a previous video somewhere down there. More German stuff, but don't worry, I translate this. I find this newsworthy, so for the international audience, Heise is one of the major professional IT news things here in Germany, a rather big undertaking. They're also already 20 years or whatnot there on the market, and they already, even they chime in here on what I already say for many years, the peak bugs here of macOS. So what they write here is that with 10.14 being phased out, so which is also hilarious, right? That Apple is releasing eventually 10.15 Catalina, which by the name, this code name stuff I really don't like, but whatever. And so they say this will be soon the final update, which I also find hilarious if you need to run a previous version of Mac, of any operating system, because you have some software that doesn't support the new version, or driver, or hardware, or other, and then you don't get updates anymore, right? So they say here soon there will be the last update, and there is like outrage or controversy that there are so many unfixed bugs. So even though many developers here point out bugs, so even there is apparently a bug, so not on top of all the peak bugs. I know even I use it for normal stuff, and each day something doesn't work. Display doesn't work, I need to reboot, it doesn't wake up with the display. It's so anyway, so many things. Just look on Twitter with hashtag peak bugs. And yes, apparently there's even something that Safari can create weblog files which represent hyperlinks that can be defectly formatted data resource forks, and then this freezes or nearly freezes, slows down, or fully freezes the Finder, and then only killing Safari helps. And some legacy 32-bit application is the list, but this doesn't even, I don't care so much about that. And yes, so the disk utility stuff does still not allow to resize stuff with APFS format, and yeah, the new disk utility anyway, it's a complete bullshit anyway. Yeah, so there's an open radar where developers, even so, I'm not the only developer who's so fed up that they either change to PS3 for daily workstation. No, just kidding, but we could. But anyway, no, of course, changing back to desktop Linux and this fun stuff. But so I'm not the only one, even other developers and news sites chime in here. So if this is so accumulating, then probably you could believe that there is some 2 cents of truth in that. And yes, apparently, and yes, even the search, the desktop search cannot even cope with some special characters like here. It's hilarious. It's 2019 and even macOS doesn't work anymore. In similar breaking Apple news, Apple apparently purchases most of Intel's smartphone G5 modem business, which is of course hilarious. So for years they were fighting with their contractors there, Qualcomm and stuff, even lawsuits. And then, by the way, I hope audio is good today. And then when Intel already gives up, so for years you see this corrupt kind of business there with unfair business practices. There was also controversy with patent licensing terms and stuff, and alleged kind of discounts in the range of billions. So I think Qualcomm or something, forgive me if I mix the company names. So Qualcomm apparently paid or gave such a discount to Apple in the terms of billions not to use other competing modem chips. And this is of course interesting move in my opinion. Many people commented there on the internet also that apparently maybe it intentionally has played Intel in this. Maybe it is a totally Scrooge McDuck business move from Tim Apple there, that he maybe played Apple so that always telling them, hey, if you develop this 5G chipset for us, we will use it in the iPhone, it's a billion business and so on. So Intel likely spent billions in this development, and maybe or most likely Apple is now buying this business with the developers, with the patents, for maybe less or most likely magnitude less than Intel spent developing this. So maybe a totally amazing business move there from Apple to get a totally amazing deal for this 5G modem tech. We have plenty of comments in the audience. Transistors, not really sure if in the RISC-V that was listed there. Yes, also comments Russian Elbrus processor. Yes, I've heard about this. And Intel in terms of performance, I've full disclosure, I've seen a lot of stuff in Russia, but not unfortunately this processor. If you're in Russia, if you're dealing with this processor stuff, I'm sometimes in Moscow. Feel free to invite me and hang out with a Russian beer on in Gorky Park and bringing me some sample of that or something of that sort. AMD-China relationship is on the ice right now because of Trump's executive order. I thought they're already manufacturing this, right? So this AMD, as far as I know, they were already manufacturing this, and not really sure if Trump can stop this. And anyway, there you see also with this one person in jail right now in Sweden. Where even Trump puts everyone in prison in USA, even childs without food in concentration camps at the border, and then one person is in a fight in Sweden, and then they should let him go. Although, well, if he's guilty or not doesn't matter, but certainly the court system needs to work its way. It's a little bit strange that on one hand America wants to imprison each and everyone they don't like, and then when there is a real crime happening that needs to be processed in court, they should let them free. Then I call out Trump first to let all the kids and friends and family at the border free. This is also ridiculous. So yeah, I'm not really sure that Trump can do very much now because the tech is already there, and basically the Chinese company can certainly, the chip company can certainly do whatever they want there. And even if AMD stops cooperating or giving them stuff, they can still manufacture this. I mean, the best thing is for AMD to cash in the money, and they can take documentations back, but they can still manufacture it, right? And then, I mean, and anyway. Yeah, maybe they don't get updated technology, but then they most likely also don't need them so much. Just they have already the high-speed interconnect. I think I read they have their own interconnect or something for the cores. I read something like quad socket, like quad sockets for 3 times the single core performance or something, with an own interconnect, so not using AMD ones. And yeah, so just use the fabrication technology interconnect and slap in there. Well, it's not so super easy, but basically principle, just slap in there this Chinese RISC-V cores and be done for that forever. Number what? Won't get any new tech though. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Maybe a totally amazing business move as per usual. They can't do operating systems or amazing MacBooks or Macs anymore, or at least overpriced ones. But even then, the overpriced Mac is also the cheese grater, is also not amazing. So at least he can still do business deals, maybe. Allegedly Tim Apple there, but whatever. So maybe Apple is then soon having their own modem silicon there in their iPhones. In similar news, Huawei secretly helped build North Korea's wireless network, leaked documents suggest, and yeah, what is the surprise there, right? They are neighbors there and they need wireless network tech, so they buy it there, right? And yeah, if America wants to make deals like with right now with what it was at Saudi Arabia or something, they just sell them something, even their own against maybe UN. I forgot, so many conflicts right now. Is it against UN resolutions? But something of that sort. So America sells whatever they want, wherever they want, or they sell and bomb and put kids in concentration camps. But if some other country sells some networking tech somewhere, then it's a huge scandal. But there you have it. If you're wondering if you will soon get 5G in North Korea, maybe powered by Huawei, just if you want to do some sightseeing there, but maybe you don't want to do that unless you want to have an adventure holiday or something of that sort. In similar news, spy tech next to you, Edge apparently, Microsoft Edge browser apparently sends a full URL of pages you visit, minus popular sites, to Microsoft apparently, in contrast to documentation, including your non-anonymous account ID here, apparently according to this tweet here, some nice JSON config, app control, something, destination, script junkie, super secure URL text. So people on Twitter say maybe not, just in case you're wondering why I'm not using Windows and not using Edge, not using Internet Explorer and such fun stuff. And yeah, you can't trust any of those big companies apparently, because they either sell their stuff left and right, or your user data in any case, or if the local government asks for some data, of course they hand it to them on a gold platter. In similar news, Louisiana's governor declares state of emergency after local ransomware outbreak. There you see, that is what we said for 20 years. It's not a new thing. And comments in the audience regarding North Korea, obviously. But why not? USA also did business with whoever they want. Why should other companies not? Cannot always agree with each other's sanctions and whatnot. But here, so ransomware, what we said already for 20 years, why you should use, for example, Linux and start such stuff, and why we had so many antitrust lawsuits with all the illegal stuff Microsoft have done and paid billions for, marketing-wise, Internet Explorer-wise, and so on. And yeah, if you only run this outdated, first of all, this Windows stuff is always, if you look into disassembly and the APIs already sucks, the disassembly sucks. And yeah, it's basically like clobbered together in the garage there. It's really low tech, also, yeah. So, and true type font parsing in the kernel, what do you expect? And if you run this everywhere and then outdated, first of all, the stuff is never secure, and then if it's outdated, it's even less secure. And yeah, and also, even if Linux has some security flaws, what we need in general is, I'm not even advocating 100% use of desktop Linux. A good mix, this is a monoculture, is never amazing, not in the forest, not in your IT infrastructure. And if you have there some plug, some pest or cholera going through your either forest or your PC system, then yeah, all of them are down and affected. And that is why we don't even need 100% Linux, like 100% server and desktop. That is also not a good idea, a healthy mix of everything. You can also use Haiku and desktop Linux certainly, and mix everything, and not all servers Linux, also some Dragonfly BSD or whatever. Certainly that even if something has some security vulnerability, not everything is immediately affected, and you still have something to run. And in general, yeah, patch your stuff and do your updates and fun stuff like that, and do reviews and all this fun stuff. Also in Europe, cities and states and regions declare state of emergency about the climate crisis, and in America, yeah, climate state of emergency for ransomware outbreak. Yeah, so well done there, Microsoft and such. In similar news, AT&T loses nearly 1 million TV customers. Speaking of disassembly, thoughts on Tidra? I think we had this another news already some months ago. Not too many more details to add to that though. Besides, in general, I never trust stuff that government hands out there for something. Anyway, so in similar news, similar American monoculture news, AT&T loses nearly 1 million TV subscribers after raising DirecTV prices. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. You raise prices and you lose customers. No surprise there. What is a surprise? Of course, 1 million. Don't even know, as I'm not living there, don't even know net loss. So don't really, why do they write here is nearly 1,700,000 something, or is, no, they lost 946,000. Anyway, then this not loss, maybe some people subscribed, and the net loss is 778,000 subscribers. But why is this newsworthy? So not only sorry, the other IT news are long though, and maybe we didn't discuss so much, but in general, don't trust government stuff, and run this kind of reverse engineering in virtual machines, but even they can have security vulnerabilities. But actually, I learned from this C-SPAN hearing, I actually need to speak slower for the American audience, I think. Yeah, so I think, no, actually that is too boring, can't speak like C-SPAN. Anyway, so yeah, first of all, you raise the prices, you offer some dumping price servers, and you get hundreds of million subscribers, and then you increase prices and you lose them, no surprise there. Also, with all the streaming services, you have Amazon, Netflix, AT&T, Disney and whatnot. Certainly I would not want to have all of them. And last but not least, AT&T is not the only one. Netflix also. Netflix market value drops 26 billion in a week. That is a nice market loss, huh? Founders net worth falls in tandem. Yeah, no surprise there. Similar probably for things like Facebook, if this falls then more. But so they also upped the prices. And do they write here how much? 7 billion subscribers said it's expect to add 7 million subscribers during the third quarter. Yeah, so long story short, I think it was also in similar news. Do you would want to pay 30 something bucks for having all subscription? Because this is honestly the problem. I'm working too much on fun stuff like this, right? To have too much time for streaming subscriptions, but if I would certainly not subscribe all of them. So we have maybe peak streaming also. On the more philosophical streaming stuff, I wanted to say maybe hanging around on the couch for consuming movies might not the best idea for your life. Not only there is a climate to change, so you can also work on your environmental neutral living or plant some trees or pick up some more waste on the plastic waste in the ocean or the street. But otherwise do some tinkering, fun hobby stuff with friends and family, because honestly I don't watch so much, actually nearly no classic TV and movie stuff. So maybe everyone's time is more spent hanging around with friends and family, doing some fun stuff, tinkering with whatever you like to tinker with, DIY stuff, and not passively sit there and watch your TV life go by. But maybe this kind of life philosophy stuff is something more for another nightly stream. Yeah, so he wonders how the public internet will be affected if GPT gets released publicly. So yeah, also in similar news, although that is similar, that is different, I actually wonder how much of the public internet is video streaming right now, right? I want to log in somewhere, I have a shitty SSH connection, secure shelter somewhere, because everyone around me is watching their video streaming, right? But today we have 0 drop frames, amazing stuff. We can't even live stream to YouTube because everyone in this blog on the DOCSIS cable internet is consuming their streaming service. And then also in full HD or 4K, right? That most people don't even see the difference in. And what I usually do when I travel, what I encourage others to do, because sometimes where I'm reoccurring somewhere in the world, I sometimes have some Wi-Fi password of some neighbors where I'm sometimes and I'm actually so nice to them to manually select a lower resolution in YouTube and such kind of stuff when I follow some YouTube stuff. And I would suggest others to also do that, especially on the go, not only on LTE roaming and stuff, but also on other people's Wi-Fi when you are as guests somewhere, because it's nothing more annoying that you want to get some work done, send some, upload some file sharing files to the cloud, or some secure shell, and you can't even get your work done because internet is so shitty. That is a breaking news summary of today. I hope you enjoyed this. Of course, I said all the other real news. I wanted to keep this smaller anyway. I hope that is successful. How many do we even have? We have some people watching. So last but not least, unless some people have some more comments in the audience. So this is of course here's a test P3 that we got ourselves here. And unfortunately, it was much more. I have Linux booting a little bit. What I found, I actually intentionally didn't get the 19-inch model DECR1000 because I thought this will most likely not work smoothly with Linux, other OS or Game OS. And boy, was I right. So even that wasn't smooth. All the custom firmware stuff I found, nothing was able to load Linux. Was barely used, barely tested. I now have some special. By the way, shout out to all the helpful people on Twitter who do custom firmware stuff. Thanks for providing me custom firmware stuff. Plenty of those. And I have something booting, so there is hope, but only the Petite bootloader, kboot Linux kernel. So there is an old Linux kernel loading. I have only a couple of challenges. First of all, something is still broken in terms of this old Linux kernel, Petit boot stuff does not load any other kernel, so I can't be productive right now so much to, yeah, you think you up your productivity and upgrade your memory. I already said in the unboxing the most expensive memory upgrade, by the way, maybe it's nicer that way, though. Do we have, can we, no, it's not in the camera. But anyway, so not only most expensive memory upgrade I ever got, I joked this already, and I thought it might be difficult to get Linux booting on the development stuff, but boy was I wrong. I thought I make my life easy with the 1400, but that ain't that easy. Unfortunately, if you have tips, or if you're one of those people that I chatted with YouTube, thanks for that tips, welcome. I have a little bit booting, but yeah, so much to here. I wanted to optimize my debugging stuff, and what did I get myself in? A massive amount of even enablement there. So yeah, just some update there. So more to come for that. Wasn't probably not, yeah, but anyway, now I have four in terms of collecting outstanding stuff between the SGI and transmitter silicon. It's, yeah, anyway, something like that, at least some collector's item, but I hope yeah, the thing is, so I spent a better part of an afternoon already that I probably should not have done other stuff for, but yeah, the other thing is now figuring out, it's most likely some low memory. I knew from the people who actually did the original game OS, other OS enablement, there are some differences in memory layout and low mem and whatnot. Maybe it's something of that sort, not really an idea why. Maybe it's that sort that's due to that resource conflicts, this kernel can't load another one then, but yeah, so you see, you can easily, even if you think you knew a lot of stuff, nothing works, even with the help of all those amazing, outstanding hackers on that sort. Something working as the last resort, but even that, yeah, and then even just working on this, I can easily spend a whole day and not make much progress just to get my Linux kernel booted. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. I hope you learned something, you find this RISC-V stuff amazing. Global warming certainly not amazing. And oh, do you know so much information? Yeah, it's not so much, it's just high level overview, right? I do this news, so this is just the news scrolling by the other stuff. I've of course done IT stuff, not only since I'm around 8, but also what information? What do you mean? You confused me. No, what? Got a live. Yeah, welcome. So we are closing mostly, so so I knew a lot, but of course I said this already, I'm not a hacker and cracker of this custom firmware stuff, so Sony don't send me some cease and desist letter, I have nothing to do with that. On our original, so this is our original company P3, I run this here legally, so don't threaten me with any bullshit. Besides, this is already getting old and vintage, right, so better let me in peace. I don't do here any cracking and hacking, I only do official software development. So we brought this from Sony original. I think we really brought this, by the way, we should have theoretically probably a Sony invoice for this, for the first one. Goal with, this is why I don't even really want to know too much custom firmware stuff other people can do, not really into this. I want to do high level computing stuff, and I pressed accidentally. Okay, great. So the tool was, the goal was only this, the tool one, that I can hold it in the camera again, and yeah, also here our amazing scene button. So the biggest only goal was actually a memory upgrade, because running here the special kernel, the latest kernel, what did we get now? Running here the latest kernel, I get even sometimes some Ethernet packets dropped here on my original, so on my real FAT. And I thought, of course, eventually I need to fix this, because all of you certainly want to run this. And I thought in the interim, I make myself a little bit, my life easier and more pleasant and whatever, having more memory. So doubling the memory, of course, it's a huge difference if you have 256 minus a little bit for the hypervisor, so 248 or 45 or whatever that might be, certainly 500 and a little bit. So 512 minus hypervisor or something, so 500 megabytes certainly is much more amazing than 240 whatever. That was the biggest thing. And then yeah, disabling HTTP for capturing the Linux console and stuff is certainly welcome. And a second one, because at home I have at home a Slim, last generation Slim 3000 series that's not custom firmwareable, so I can't, even if I wanted to, I can't run Linux yet. If you hack on this, maybe hack on this. But I, by the way, asked some custom firmware people, so the custom firmware people said probably not very likely, because they would need to hack secure boot. So maybe apparently the new cell processors have more secure boot, which the old ones didn't have or something, or new version or whatever, I don't know, I don't really care too much. And yeah, so chances for Linux on my home Slim, probably slim. And for that being said, it's certainly nice to have a second one. If in case the Slim secure boot is never broken, then I at least, because if I spend here all the work getting more RSX stuff to work and 3D acceleration in Linux and fun stuff like that, and my original FAT ever breaks, I have no other P3, right? So having a second one that even has more memory certainly has long-term advantages, that even in a decade to come I have a working one. And yeah, because the new FAT, the DECR 1400, has also a newer generation cell and RSX, so that is 65 nanometer in fabrication instead of 95 or whatever that was. And so yeah, it's also cooler, energy efficient, and hopefully lasts longer, hopefully forever or something of that sort. And with that being said, I wanted to say already, as we discussed this already so long, I wanted to say independently of that, that this is, by the way, exactly why secure boot even on Windows PCs and Macs sucks. This is not for the user, this is against the user. And if you say, yeah, but security, then no, it's not, because the chances that someone goes physically to your Mac or PC are zero, unless you are a top secret service agent, your local W7, James Bond. 99.99% of the people in the world will never have someone locally go there to your PC or Mac and insert some malware that would be prevented by secure boot. And even then, if it's a state actor like a 007, then he will have the master backup key, the NSA 2 key anyway. So secure boot is only against the user, to prevent people to load a non-Windows or non-macOS and such. And there you see with a custom firmware that if you want to continue to use this, doesn't need to be the P3. Why do I say this? Of course, here you need to spend days and custom firmware and hack and tinker. Of course, the original people who have done this, they spent a year or whole winter to crack this open. And if after the lifetime of this, if the company like Sony or Apple or your satellite receiver or your access point or your Android phone and such, if the original company phases this out and doesn't support it anymore, then you are lost. And this is exactly what we have here in terms of this. And here even our company brought this one and took it away from us, right? Which of course we didn't fall for the trap. We of course didn't update the firmware here of the original FAT, but that is what you would have got back in the day, which is of course totally shitty from companies like Sony or Apple or such. Fun fact, by the way, I would say that this FAT is one of the latest and greatest P3s. Why? So this is the second generation, I think, officially I think the first generation. I just looked this up today because we brought this here relatively early. The first generation was not sold in Europe, and it was only sold in Japan and North America. As so often, even with the iPhone, that was only sold first in North America. And so this does not have the hardware PS2 chips with the emotion engine or whatever that was called, which I didn't miss. For me it was good, because that certainly would have burned even more electrons to heat. And but so I don't miss this. You could argue the first gen is the best, because emotion chips there for PS2 compatibility, whatever, I don't need that. I would argue this is the best. Why? Because not only does this have this door here for this compact flash and Sony bullshit, whatever that was, SD, micro SD, Sony smart something bullshit, whatever that was, CF. But much more important, this has the optical drive that reads, it is written here somewhere, this high, what was it even called, a super audio. So only this, all PS3s after this one don't read the secure, not secure, super audio. And not that too many people would have this, but if you already have something like this, then it's of course cool. The last generation. How do they look? I even recently, or last year, not recently, but brought maybe 2 of those amazing. So if you are young, this is how optical discs looked back in the day, right? Just joking a little bit. Certainly all of you have known. So this nice reflective stuff here. And so I, although I'm not really an audiophile, but interested in audio, I actually didn't had any secure audio, and I just so I think yes, this too. So I only purchased 2. What did I say? Secure audio? Of course, I mean super audio. It's too hot here. Yeah. So just to halfway decent, I found here. What is this? Both. Yeah. So this is some demo Chesky record, and. Nora Jones, not the greatest fan, but wanted to have something medium decent for secure super audio CD testing. So yeah, all the other PS3s. So actually I wanted to implement reading backupping and making your backup copy of super audio CD on Linux, but on GameOS you can do this. There is some homebrew software for that, but I figured it's using the SPEs to do some decoding. I think it might be super difficult to re-implement, or at least medium difficult. Maybe we do this. So you should, if you're interested in this kind of hacking and cracking, maybe another winter we try to read super audio CDs. Already purchased demo material just for that. So by the way, for the companies you see, of course I'm totally not a pirate. I only want to make my backup copy. So you see. For all the people who make digital copyright, they even sold me 2 copies more of physical audio. So much to piracy is avoiding sales. They even sold two copies of records more than I would have anyway. And by the way, this not secure audio, super audio, what I did not know is that it's not using PCM pulse code modulation. It is using DSD, digital, what was it, DSD, digital something. So this, for those who are new into that, we can shortly Google this. I think it was DSD, PCM, yeah, DSD, yeah, direct stream digital. Of course, it's a little bit marketing bullshit. I also didn't really knew about this, although I'm quite in audio. I wrote this multi-track recorder 20 years ago, GSMP, it's a friend here. So yeah, as a CD, super audio CD. And the difference is that in PCM, you have, what does it even officially, pulse, is it pulse code, PCM audio, wiki? Yeah, pulse code modulation. So what this is doing, this, so you, for all of those audio, so this is analog waveform, and you have for your sampling rate, like usually CD is 44.1 kilohertz, higher, but doesn't really matter anyway. So you have 44.1 times a second a sample, either 8-bit or with some sample depths of CDs, of course 16-bit, which is relatively high. And then you have the sample. What I, by the way, fun fact, what I don't know, and we probably should make another video about, I always thought this signal is really like jacked like this stair form, but this is actually not true. So digital audio converters since decades already, previously they did filtering, later they did was it oversampling? Is it called oversampling? 8 times oversampling or something like of that sort. So actually, for each signal below the Nyquist frequency, the DAC will produce this analog signal precisely. So don't believe all this analog bullshit. But probably we need to make another video about this. The difference is that this Super Audio CD is actually not using PCM, which probably some people say has some advantages, but I would call marketing bullshit on this. So this is some kind of pulses, 0-1 pulses with a very high sampling frequency, but it's not like pulse code modulation, but this direct digital sampling stream, or what is it, DSD, direct stream digital. So it has the higher the value between, so this waveform would also be between 0 and 1, and the more 1 samples you have in one interval, the more this waveform then tends to the high level of 1, or whatever might be your highest value. Of course, it's then remapped to -1 and -1 and +1, and that to some other output voltage from the driver. But I call here, of course, the waveform produced in the end is entirely the same, and basically you have the same result if you would have a 96 kilohertz or like double 44, even 88.2 or 24 bits. Both of them, they would produce the identical waveform to direct stream digital. So basically this is mostly just some alternative representation with some marketing bullshit that it sounds better, which is, yeah, if the produced waveform is the same, then it sounds the same. It's, of course, never fall for this audiophile marketing bullshit trap stuff. So because the sampling is only 2 states, 0 and 1, you of course need a 16 times or even higher sampling rate. This is why this artificial pseudo sample rate of this direct stream digital is so high. So this Super Audio CD sampling rate is some megahertz. Yeah, you see sampling rates of 2.824 megahertz in this 0 and 1 state. So this is, you need to divide this by multiple magnitudes to compare this to PCM, because you need already 16 bits at least, maybe more, maybe I would need to think about this for a couple of minutes or hour to anyway, because certainly you have, otherwise you have 16 bits for one sample, and here you have 1 bit, so you need 16 or whatever times for that same dynamic range. And yeah, it's, anyway, probably you've never heard about direct stream digital. I also have not before I researched something of that detail, another stuff, but I only got this just for another rainy, after the global warming summer and we have some ultra cold winter again, then if it's snowing and we have 1 meter snow outside, then I'll probably take on dumping this. So yeah, also other differences in, we digressed a little bit, other differences, of course, I should serial number here. So this PS3 also should check what we, so the tools PS3, other differences are, I think it has a Kensington hole here that is not visible because it's certainly super black and not entirely in focus. So the regular one does not have a Kensington lock, 2 times Ethernet, and then the difference is it does not have this bling here. The FAT has the silver stripe, which I'm not the greatest, I'm not the greatest fan of bling. So on the regular FAT, this is silver and bling, and the stripe and this drive cover. But so here it's more black, it looks more stealth, and does not yet boot Linux in a way that I can use. That is on top of 2 times Ethernet, and I wish they would have 2 times HDMI, but they don't. Only the DECR 1000 has. Anyway, so yeah, how can you spend not only the most for 256 megabyte memory upgrade, but even more time and virtual money getting Linux even to boot? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Actually, I mostly wanted to talk about this breaking news. Now we digressed a little bit as per usual. I hope you enjoyed this anyway. Let's see, do we have more? in the audience there probably should up our alarm system here in the office now that we have a tools PS3 and an SG Entertainment. Things like that. Yep. Do you have longer runtime with DSD at least? Runtime, what do you mean runtime? Super Audio CD has more storage space, and this is, you don't have more runtime, but well, you only have more runtime because they have more storage, like DVD kind of 4 gig or something. Does it even show you somewhere? Because this has, so this are hybrid, this Super Audio CD are hybrid, at least some of them are. Is it written here? Maybe most are, yeah, hybrid. So this has this stereo hybrid Super Audio CD plays in all SA, CD and CD players, this one. And so if you insert this in a CD player, this regular CD layer is red. And so this is some fancy dual layer laser focusing stuff. And I think this is also hybrid. I think SACD, DSD and the logo are trademark of Sony and Philips. Yeah, so, and you have all, the only benefit is you have surround sound. So this one is this hybrid or not? Not sure if this is hybrid, but maybe it is hybrid. So you have 5.1 surround sound on those. You have more storage, so you don't have more runtime. You only have more runtime because this has more storage capacity. That is usually used for if they are high production value, fancy stuff. Then you have alternative surround sound stuff that maybe we next need to invest for a surround sound setup here in the office to test and develop surround sound stuff. Speaking of that, I would have a fun story to tell about audiophile stuff, but that is for another day. We need to keep some stories to, yeah. Anyway, theoretically, I have some more thing to say, maybe on the, but also, anyway, probably tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. And if you want, so we want to tune back on the news stuff here on this channel. So if you're interested in more random news, I only wanted to shout out here the stuff like global warming kind of news that I, of course, had here. So not that international audience. I know many international audience often, some people in parts of the world where they use strange units like Fahrenheit and pounds and other royal clusterfuck like that, they also sometimes believe global warming is not a thing. Yes, it's a thing and it's destroying our planet, and if you want to have your kids and grandkids live on this planet, then we better start doing something and maybe do DIY solar panel tinker or other inventions that recycle water or energy efficient, convert sea water to drinking water and fun stuff like that. Possibilities are endless, and I hope you learned something, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And I wanted to say for more news on the second channel, right, because that is where we wanted to do it mostly, if we do not want to have a night-long monologue here on this channel about plenty of random stuff that we digress with. Hope you learned something. See you soon for more tinkering and all the other fun stuff to come.